Good morning. Why is it blurry? There we go. All right. Morning, guys. Did I put than? Yeah, I spelt it wrong. Thanks, Gianni. I'll change it right now. Am I from Florida? Yes, I am. All right. Fresh cut on a 5% red day. Love it. All right, guys. Good morning. So, yeah, yesterday was fun. Yesterday was eventful. Big downside, and just totally no signs of life yesterday. None. So no signs of life. No buyers. No bids. Just downside all day. So that was just one of those days. So. Yeah, caught some nice downside. Apple, Tesla, caught some downside on those two yesterday. Traded some futures yesterday. Obviously, in a losing position on my Nvidia trade, but I sort of scalped my way out of that one. Just didn't want to panic sell yesterday. As bad as it looks for Nvidia, I'm probably going to take a loss on this trade. I'm pretty much understanding of that at this point, but if I can scout my way out with some easy downside plays that we saw yesterday, I mean, yesterday was just easy, right? To the downside, it's just you know it's going to go down. Past a certain time, you just know, all right, we're going down. I mean, there's nothing that's going to hold this market up. So just played that downside, got out of my loss with some short-term scalps, and that's what I like to do. I don't like to panic out of a long-term position. If I can hedge a long-term position with some short-term scalps, then I'll just do that, cover the loss, and if I take the loss, it is what it is. So definitely not a good day for that trade, but some nice downside scalps yesterday. Hope you guys caught some of that. Some nice bear flags intraday. Just some, just really big systematic selling to the downside. So obviously we saw this because CPI came in higher than expected. Almost every bank that I saw, their expectations, they were around 8%. So almost every bank that expected, that was forecasting CPI, it came in higher than what they expected. And when numbers come in higher than expected, that's when you see those big reactions. So that's what happened yesterday. Very nice to the downside, and we are back towards, which is interesting, right? I'm not making a bull case here, but the move yesterday was knee-jerk, which is just normal during macro events. We know that. But it didn't give up that much of upside, right? It gave up Friday's move and Monday's move. So it gave up 2 days in the market. So we're sitting at a pretty important level here today, a demand zone that could mess with some of us, right? It could mess around in this zone. It could chop us up, and I want to talk about that today. Being overly bearish after a knee-jerk reaction like that can also lose you money, right? You could still lose money to the downside, even though the market looks extremely weak. So you still have to be careful in the zone that we're trading in. By no means am I saying we're going to bounce. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is it could be a difficult area to trade in, and I'll show you that area that I'm talking about. There's definitely an area down here that we're trading in now that could sort of mess around, that could give us, maybe a day of consolidation, that could stop us out of some short-term trades, that could sort of sway our emotions in a certain direction. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of this zone that I'm watching on the NASDAQ and the ES today. That's mainly what I'm going to talk about, and then we're obviously going to look at some individual stocks as well. So welcome to the stream again. Thank you guys for being here. Press that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's go ahead and get started. So futures economic earnings calendar. Today we have PPI, so producer price index. Yesterday we had CPI, which is consumer price index. Today we have PPI. Right here you guys can see this is producer price index. So definitely watch that today. We're gonna be here live. The expectations are negative 0.1. And that is a big decrease since the last expectation. So is the market setting itself up for more disappointment here? Very possible, right? The market is pricing in, or at least what we think is negative 0.1. Previous was negative 0.5. So this is a decrease, right? They're expecting PPI to come in lower than previous. What does it come in at? And do we get a big reaction off of it? If it's higher than the expectation, that is what we'll see in about 24 minutes. So that's today. Tomorrow, jobless claims, retail sales, import price index, some other business, capacity utilization, business inventories. But the big stuff, maybe jobless claims, retail sales. I'm not sure that's going to really change the trajectory here from CPI and PPI. I think that's more important. Friday, 5-year consumer inflation expectations, consumer sentiment index. That's about it. Next week we have Federal Reserve, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, talking at 2 o'clock next week on Wednesday. That's another big thing to watch out for. So as you guys know, it just seems that we always have something to watch out for. That's the market we live in. That's why it's so difficult to swing trade in these environments. That's why, short-term trades are what I focus on mainly these days. I've taken a few scalps there, here and there. I've taken some small shots. I would say my success rate on scalps lately have been maybe 50%, maybe less. So keeping the swing small, taking shots where I see good risk reward. If I'm wrong, it happens, right? Everyone's going to lose in trading when they're taking positions. It's going to happen. Short-term trades, following the momentum intraday seems to be the right way to continue to trade this market. especially with all this economic news that creates such large volatility in the market. So that's that. Tesla, 290 level, big level to watch today. Nvidia, 52-week lows. We broke new lows yesterday on Nvidia. AMD, 78.50. I want to show you guys this level. Meta, this may be my favorite downside play today if we see continuation to the downside. Meta broke that 4-hour channel that we have been trading in. It is below it, and it is now turning it into resistance. This could definitely continue lower on a weak market. Costco, big head and shoulders on Costco. Apple, big level today. And then finally, Amazon at 125. I want to show you this level. And then after that, we will look at the tickers that you guys want to look at. All right. So let's just get started with the futures, guys. And this is the level that I'm referring to today. So we can see, right, big move to the downside off of PPI or CPI, right? Big move. I mean, this was like a 6% drop. This was a big drop yesterday. 6.7% from high to low. That is very large. That is... Have I seen, I don't know, I got to be honest, I don't know if I've seen a 6% drop in a single day for a very long time. It might be, honestly, it might be back to like the COVID time. Because even back here, this was the biggest multi-day drop that we've seen in quite a while. This was like 2.5 over the 3 days here, 10%. But in a single day, about 6.7, that's a lot. Brad, what's up, man? Good morning, Brad. Nice job yesterday, my friend. Chef, go subscribe to Chef's YouTube channel. Chef Joe. If you want to see good food, go subscribe to Chef Joe. So 6.7% in a single day. That is a major move to the downside on the NASDAQ and similar on the ES. Haven't seen that in quite a while. That might go back to like May and March. It's the biggest drop since March. Yeah, that's big. That's big. Yeah, that's a major one. So major drop yesterday. Definitely I don't like to use this word, but a historical drop. 6.7% from peak to low yesterday on the market. So where do we find ourselves? Where do we find ourselves? If you ignore the insane strength to the downside, the absolute weakness to the downside yesterday, you don't find yourself in on the charts in that much of an area that we haven't given back much. That's what I'm trying to get across, right? We've given back about 2 days of price action. So we moved up irrationally here, and we basically just gave it back. So do I want to just go balls to the wall here and short everything into this area? Maybe the answer is yes. But I still think it's right to be careful in this zone. That's sort of what I'm getting across. This zone was previous rejections. This zone was previous rejections. This zone was previous rejections. This zone turned into support. This zone turned into support, right? So do I think that we're just going to slide through this? I got to be a little bit cautious. As a trader who manages risk, right, I have to be a little bit cautious just thinking we're going to slide right through this area. We very well could be. If we're ever going to do it, it would be this week, probably off of some negative CPI data. If the catalyst is strong enough, if the appetite is still there to just sell this market off today, then we could definitely see us drop through this level here, this zone, this little demand area on the market. Totally possible. I'm not saying it's not. But what I want to make sure people are aware of is that we are trading in this zone. And you have to sort of understand that this is an important level. So you can see here on the hourly, we'll break it down a little bit more. This was an area of previous consolidation, right? You have rejection, support, and we are back in it today. So it's going to be interesting. This is too early for me to really give you, what's going to happen here. I can't. No one's going to be able to tell in this zone how this market reacts. We're going to have to watch it intraday. We're going to have to watch it as it starts to trade. If it looks anything like yesterday, then we should get through it. Right? If we're just systematic selling all day, just no bids, nothing, then I could see us slipping through it. The big selling point, right, where I would get aggressive is if we broke these last week's lows. If we broke last week's lows, right? If we broke here, if we turn this into rejection, and we sell off from here, then that's really nice, right? This would be a fantastic break and retest, break last week's lows right around 11,920 and continue to the downside. If I break this down to the 30-minute, get a little bit closer, this is sort of the area that I think could be tricky today. I think it could be tricky. So if we could trade back down into this area, we could be, make some traps in this area. It could be pretty tricky in this general zone. It could be sort of, if you're not, if you don't have good risk management, if you're just taking trades in here and the market's just chopping, this could definitely chop you up. So you have from around, it seems like this morning, around 12,130, maybe 12,150. You could maybe bring this line up to around 12,150 right there, where we rejected here in the morning. Anywhere from like 12,150, which is these previous lows here, right? You have some support in this 150 area. You have some support in this 150 area. So it looks like to me, anywhere between 12,150 and last week's lows of around 11,920, you have about a 130 point range of question, right? This is a questionable area. I don't think anyone could say with confidence what we do in this zone. So that's what I'm watching out for today. It's hard for me to give you like a real, I think we're just going to slip right through this. I think we're going to bounce off of this. It's too early. It's too early to make that type of assumption. So today's pretty important. I think today is, you watch the price action, you see how we react in this zone, you get a good understanding of, do we see weakness still? Are we just going to slip under this and just continue to drop? Are we going to see some multi-day consolidation in here? Or do we actually find some type of support off this zone? That's what we have to answer today. Hopefully we get an answer to that today, and tomorrow on the live stream we can come back and sort of get a better look at this. So yeah, let's see what happens. So, the easy short today would be if we just drop below last week's lows, right? Intraday, if we dropped below last week's lows, if we come back up into it and turn it into a rejection, right? Then I would look for boom to the downside. Let's go Mets, Brad. Yes, sir. And Giants. Actually, no, you're not a Giants fan. So I would look for downside. This would be the easy trade today, right? You get your downside under last week's lows. You get a retest of it. That would be your short entry if you get that. If we just chop here, right, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. All right, so watch that today. Obviously, you just look for some pivot points on the short term. If you're looking at the 5-minute today, if you're looking at the short term, you just watch these pivot points really. So you have a pivot here, right? You have some pivot low here. You have a high here. So you just want to watch these pivot points intraday. All right, if we push into 12,200, watch for that rejection. If we push into that 12,250, this previous low, watch for that rejection. If you push into 12,300, 12,350, watch for that rejection. So just keeping an eye on some of these early morning pivots here on the NASDAQ. ES, you find yourself in a similar situation. So you zoom out on the ES, right? You zoom out on the ES on the 4-hour chart. You see the downside that came in. From high to low, you're about 5.5%. That's a major drop on the S&P 500. But where do you find yourself? You find yourself right back at Thursday's lows, right? You don't find yourself breaking some major levels, right? If we were breaking 38.85, then I would say, yeah, guys, this is not looking good, right? If we were down here, if we were retesting 38.85, then yeah, we should absolutely be breaking down. That's a bear flag break. That's a break of a huge level. That's a little bit more easy to call. That's a little bit more easy to trade off of. We find ourselves in this area, previous rejection, into support. Yeah, Quentin, I can't believe the Mets do this every year, man. They do really well, and then they slide half the last few games. The Braves are about to take the win, which is just wild to me. But anyways, rejection, support, and you find yourself right at that zone again on the ES, very similar to the NASDAQ. So what happens in this zone today? It's about 38.85 to around 39.45. So it's about that's a 70-point range, right? That's going to be interesting. 60-point range, sorry. So about a 60-point range in this zone on the ES. What happens in that zone? I think the easy sell-off, the easy sell is a break of this uptrend, right? Right there, break of the uptrend, smash through it, flush through the uptrend, retest these lows, sell it at that point, and then get your move going to the downside, right? That's the easy one. You could absolutely find some opportunity through this, then and fall through this, and you could probably trade some of that. The easy and clear selling point would be a break of the uptrend, break of the support, retest, and boom. That's what I would really get aggressive on. So that's the 4 hour. Here's the 30-minute, guys, and we'll look at this a little bit closer. You can just sort of see it's the same thing as the NASDAQ, right? We have this chop in this area, all between this 39.45, 38.85. You have an unknown, I think. This area is pretty unknown to me, all in here. Unknown, this is like the Bermuda Triangle down here. What happens? Something's going to happen in this zone. It's unknown in this area. We'll have to see, right? All we can do is wait and see what the price action looks like. If the price action today looks ugly, if we just fall all day, then it's going to be nice, and we're definitely going to know that price action is showing weakness. If we have some chop in morning, right, let's say we do this, let's say we pop, let's say we come back down, and we just start chopping here today, right, that's going to be tough. And that's just something to watch out for. So watch out for that. That's what I'd be watching out. That's what I would be watching today. This zone, 39.45, 38.85. What happens in this zone? Just be aware of it, guys. I'm not trying to tell you what happens here. I'm just giving you an idea of the area that you have to sort of watch out for here, because I don't want to see anyone, be super bearish today. Have that demand hold, and then you're like, what the hell, man? Everything's moving down. Why am I losing money on puts? And it's just because that zone is just being a little stubborn. It could be a little stubborn today. So 31,000 on the Dow, that's the level to watch here. You guys can see previous lows, right? Previous low, 31,000. This is a pretty easy sell here as well. If you break 31,000 on the Dow, right? If you get this crack and you retest the 31,000, then that's a really nice sell right there under that key level. So that's what I would be watching today, guys. 31,000 on the Dow. This is a huge level. Previous low, previous low. Do you break that low today on the Dow? That's what I'd be watching. And then on the Russell, it's 1835. So go to the 1 hour chart. You guys can see 1835 is the level to watch here on the Russell. So I'll go ahead and mark this out right here. You guys can see you have a previous rejection. You have a previous rejection, you have a previous rejection, and you are back at it today, right? So what happens here? Do you get your break? Do you get your retest? Do you get your rejection? Or do you get some type of choppy hold here for the time being? That's what you have to watch. 1835 on the Russell. All right, guys. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm trying not to come in today with any bias, even after such a ridiculous, I don't want to say ridiculous, but after a really bad drop yesterday. I don't want to come in just saying I'm shorting everything at open, because the market has shown us that if you get too biased in either direction, you will get clapped, right? And I don't want to get clapped. I don't want to get clapped when the market is obviously weak and it has some kind of sympathy bounce off of this demand, right? I would really hate myself if I said, if I took heavy on puts today and we bounce off this demand a little bit, let's say we get like a 0.5% push and just sort of chop. I don't want to be the one that gets heavy at puts at open, right? Some kind of sympathy bounce that ends up selling off anyway, right? If I get stuck in this, right? If I get stuck in some kind of small demand bounce that ends up selling off anyway, and I lose and I get stopped out on something like this, I don't want to be that person, right? I don't want to get stuck in that. So I'm going to wait it out a little bit. I want to see what the price action looks like this morning. If it starts to, just really slip, then, it'll be easy. Let's just wait for it to show us the next move in this unknown sort of demand zone on the 4 hour on both the ES and the NASDAQ. All right. That's sort of my plan. Tesla. Big level here on Tesla today. 30-minute chart. You guys can see this was a gap fill level on Tesla. You guys can see right here, this was a gap back on Friday of last week. We gapped up and we gapped and goed, right? We gap and go. We never filled that gap. So you guys can see yesterday we got close to filling it, and this morning we obviously filled it around 290. So if Tesla breaks and retests 290, you guys know what I'm looking for today, right? Look, 5-minute chart. If you get a nice little break and retest, which you are already seeing today, this is yesterday's lows, and look at what it's doing at yesterday's lows. So this is a 290 zone that you have to watch out for, right? 290 right here, psychological level. That's a big previous, that's the gap fill. This could be a previous support, right? But if you see this, which you're already seeing today, break, retest, rejection, would love that. That would be a fantastic play today. Definitely looking for that on Tesla. Previous lows into a resistance, right? Break that down, show a little maybe a little bear flag action right here into 290. Right, let me go to the 1 minute. You're already seeing it. Hopefully it doesn't do it before market open. That would suck. But if we get a little bear flag action, right, into the 290s, into this previous low, we start to do one of these, some of this, little that, and then boom. That's what I would love to see today. That would be a fantastic trade. Definitely something I am watching for today. Little break and retest of the previous day lows. Something you can see all the time on this market. All right, that's Tesla. Nvidia, really ugly day for Nvidia, right? You broke below the new 52-week lows, new yearly lows on Nvidia. What am I looking for today? The next point that I would love to potentially scalp Nvidia to the downside would be right here, guys. This will be a fantastic push back into previous lows, and then one of these, and then one of those, right? That's what I would look for, right? You have previous lows, previous lows, previous lows, previous lows. If you can see we flushed under it yesterday, intraday. If we look for something like this into those previous lows, and we look for maybe a bear flag to form, that would be a fantastic previous low into a rejection, sell it to the downside. We'll see if Nvidia can give us that bounce. That would be nice. I don't know if it's going to. Let's look out further and look at some levels here. So we got to go to the daily chart for this one, because these are some these are levels that are pretty old, right? So this consolidation, I mean, the low of this consolidation is right around 117, right in that general area. You have a little bit of consolidation around this 127. Whoops. Right here, right? So 127, right sort of near these lows. It's not perfect, guys. It's sort of a zone. 127, 120, this whole area, right at the lows of this channel, could be on watch for where that next target is. Maybe 117, 118 is the lows of these, the channel low here, channel low here, channel low here, around 118. That could be that, you know, the watch level if this market continues lower. So if we go to the 5-minute chart, if we get that retest, all right, if we get a push back into yesterday's lows, or I'm sorry, last week's lows, let me go ahead and go back to the hourly chart here. Back to the hourly. If we get a push back into around this 133.50, right? If we get that push back in there and we see this start to reject, it would be a very nice little break, retest, sell it back to the downside. All right? So that's what I'm watching on Nvidia today. Looking for that rejection up there around 133.50. If we get any type of upside. That's a big if. AMD, same exact thing. Right? Same exact thing on AMD. I'm sure you guys are going to see this around on a lot of stocks. A break of the previous week lows and then a retest of it. That's what I'll be looking for across all of the names that I'm watching. So you can see previous low here, right? Right there. Previous low right here. If you can get a push into that level, right? If we can start to reject it, then I would look for that downside move. So 78.50, that's the level I'm watching on AMD. Previous low, looking for that push back into it. If I see that push back into it, I would love to sell into that push. That's something I'll definitely be watching today. All right. Go to the 4-hour. Let's see what we can see here. Let's go just look at some previous levels. So you're below that pivot low. That's important, right? You got to watch that. Down here, it's a little bit questionable down here. I mean, you got maybe this 75 right here. Let's zoom in on this 4-hour. So if we're looking at this 4-hour, I would say this pivot here around 74.50, 75 would be a level to watch, and then the previous lows around 72. That's really what I would watch. 71.60, 72, and then 74.50, 75. If we drag that over, you guys can see that could be where this AMD wants to move down to. Right here, 74.50, right? And then the lows of around 72. That's what I would watch. Yeah, all the charts are going to look similar. I totally agree, right? All these tech stocks are going to be maybe breaking previous lows, right? And then looking for that retest today, right? That's what I would do. I would look for that primarily on everything. If you see stocks start to push back into the lows of last week, I would look for those rejections. That is going to be a potential setup for sure. All right? It's not going to be easy for a stock like Nvidia to just pop right back above last week's lows. This is obviously going to turn into a selling point. A lot of people are going to be looking for this exact selling point, right? 133.50. And on AMD, exact same idea, 78.50. If we get some nice early, if you guys are bearish today, right? If you want to sell into this move again, you want to see a morning pop, right? You want to see a fake morning pop, a weak morning pop. You want to see maybe, I would love to have seen it in the pre-market because we know pre-market's weak. We know it's low volume. You want to see some type of short squeeze in the morning, maybe shorts getting out, and then you want to see where can I resell this market. You don't want to just, continue to chase the downside. You would want to see a pop, get some short sellers covering their positions, and then you get some weak bullish action. You get those weak bulls who are like, oh, I'm going to catch the bounce. And then once they, they're in their bullish positions and it starts to reject, they're weak-handed, right? They're like, oh, I'm out of this, right? Then you can short into that, right? That's what you want to see today. You want to see that early morning pop. All right, so let's, what do we got? We got about a minute. Let's get ready for PPI here, and then we'll look at the next few things on the list today. So here's NASDAQ. Let's just get ready for this. You guys can see this level is still sort of maintaining itself this morning. I will pull up our news bot, Walter. Here it is. Let's move it. Let's move this over here. And then put this right there. All right. So PPI due at 8:30 a.m. We got that. What other news we got here? Oh, hold on. 8:30 it is. Let's see. A little bit of reaction right now. Nothing crazy. Just awaiting PPI data here. Markets reacting slightly to the downside as of right now. First 1 minute candle, never to be trusted. Remember, that first 1 minute candle was to the upside yesterday, if you guys remember that. So, yeah. All right, producer price index. Wow, it met consensus. X food and energy was 0.1 above consensus, but it met the consensus on the producer prices final demand negative 0.1, consensus negative 0.1. That's interesting. So consumers are obviously getting the worst part of it, right? This is producer price index. So this is what producers pay. Consumer CPI is what consumers pay. So the consumer side of things is clearly the weaker part, the more aggressive part. PPI met consensus. And I think that's why you're not seeing a reaction right now, right? When things meet expectations, you do not see large reactions. So PPI came in as consensus, negative 0.1. All right. X food energy negative or plus 0.04, consensus plus 0.4, consensus plus 0.3. So not much reaction here. And I'm going to assume that's probably because, right, you met the consensus of negative 0.1. All right, that's all I got for you there. I'm not going to spend too much time. Again, if you guys want like in-depth macroeconomic analysis, I am not your guy. I am more of your technical guy. So what I would do is I'd watch my stream for technicals, and then I would watch Josh, the Colt. Shout out to the Colt for macro, like the really in-depth economic reasons behind all of this. He's very good at that. Josh should be an economist. He's very intelligent when it comes to the macro side of things. So that would be like the little parlay that I would use. I would use me as technicals, and I always listen to Josh for the macro side of things. So just understand that when you come here, guys. I'm not the best in tune with, how does this react to this in the economic side of things. I focus on technicals primarily. I don't have a reason to expand my knowledge because I do just fine for myself on the technical side of things. I obviously understand it, but I can't give you like the in-depth economist side of things. So, yeah, just I'm. It's you got to admit where your strong sides are and your weak sides are. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm not afraid to admit that. Everyone should be true to themselves. So, Meta. Josh is Stock Market Live on YouTube. He's live every day, all day, and he's very good at macroeconomics. Yash, not Josh. Yash. All right, so let's continue. I'm giving out people just but I respect people online. A lot of hard work. So let's continue. Meta, big break of the channel low. I like that parlay. Yeah, that's a good parlay, Piff. So big support here on Meta, right? You have your support, you have all your support in this 154 area, 155 area. Look at what we're doing right now, guys. This is really key. This is really, really key. So you can see the previous demand. This is back 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago, right? We've held this demand for 3 months. Support, right? And you guys can see that we have turned this level into a rejection, right? You guys can see previous support into a rejection, and look how clean that is. So this has got to be my top watch to the downside here today. If we turn 155 into a rejection point, this would be a fantastic short entry, in my opinion. If the market's weak, if everything aligns with downside movement, right? I absolutely love a major channel break, right? There's nothing quite like a major channel break, right? The last time we broke a major channel, you can see we made a stair step down. So you've made stair steps down on Meta before. We have seen this before. We've had a stair step and we made a new low, right? We had a stair step and we are potentially making a new low, and then we can stair step again. So definitely something I'm watching today. I think this is probably my top watch. This is definitely going to be on my charts. Meta, right? 155, look for that rejection. Big time level there. All right. Meta. Facebook. Screw Meta. Facebook. All right. Costco. Big head and shoulders here. Daily chart. Look at this, guys. So pretty major head and shoulder here on the daily chart. You have a left shoulder. You have a right shoulder. This definitely looks weak. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here's your neckline. As you guys like to joke around in the Discord chat, neckline. You there, Wathy or Sierra? If you're there, you're coming into a neckline. So 508 is your neckline on the head and shoulders on Costco. Let's zoom out here. Hourly chart. Let's get a little bit more time, actually. We need 90 days. There we go. So you guys can see if we break this low, which is, what's the low of this? Let's get the exact low. Why not? Let's get the exact low. The exact low here is 508.76. I actually have that marked out. Okay. The exact low is 508.76. So if we break the neckline, right, on a head and shoulder, right? If we crack this neckline and we turn it into a rejection point, right? Boom, beautiful selling opportunity. Break the neckline, flush under the head and shoulder, right here, previous low, 508.76, and look for that rejection there. That's what I would be watching for on Costco. If you break that, you could also have some choppiness in here, though, guys, right? Remember that. It could look like this, right? It could look like this, right? You don't want to get too aggressive until you see that confirmation. Costco could very well do a little bit of nonsense in this area, and you're going to be sitting in your puts, and you're going to be like, what the hell's going on? So wait for that confirmation. Don't be the first one into it. Look for that neckline break. Look for that break and retest. Look to see if you can get that flush under that key level, and then you can try to play that continuation. Don't get chopped up in that zone. Yeah, I think the weekly chart, yeah. I saw this the other day. Here's the weekly chart on Costco as well. So this is inception, right? This is a head and shoulder inception on Costco, right? You have the head and shoulder within a head and shoulder. So you have left shoulder, you have your head, you have your right shoulder, right? That's on the weekly chart. This is a huge head and shoulder on the weekly chart. Within that head and shoulder on the weekly chart, you got yourselves a little one, right? This is head and shoulder inception. So 508.76, watch that flush, guys. That could be pretty big. Again, remember, that will depend on what the NASDAQ does and what the entire market does today. If the entire market finds some kind of sympathy bounce today, it's not going to break that level. So you need to watch the overall market. All right, Apple. Big rejection up there at 176.50. Let's break this down a little bit short term because this is really where you got to be watching it. Shoulderception. Yeah, give me a good word for that. So you guys can see it. It's right in front of your eyes, right? It's not a hard level to look at. You can see it's a very major level on Apple today, right? You have previous lows, previous lows, previous lows, previous lows, and you are trading right at it today. You are actually finding some support off of it as we speak, right? So this is what I'm talking about, guys. You can't get too bearish with this demand, right? If you get too bearish, you could sell into this downside and this thing could pop on you, right? It absolutely could do that. I know I know it could be unlikely with how weak the market has been, but it is very possible. And I don't want to see us get too aggressive here before breaking these demand zones, especially on the NASDAQ. Right, as weak as it looked yesterday, as ugly as it looked, right, you can see on the NASDAQ as well, it is still trying to retain this zone. And the NASDAQ and the overall stock market will do anything it can to get you out of position. So getting too aggressive here before we actually start to break this zone could result in choppy action, could result in you getting chopped up, and that is something you want to avoid. So Apple, you guys can see, is sitting at this major level, 153.50. It bounced off it yesterday towards close. It bounced off it again towards close. Or I'm sorry, right here in pre-market. So what's the easy trade, right? What's the easy trade? The easy trade is the flush, right? Get this thing going to the downside. Get it very clear. Everyone in their moms knows that this is flushing, right? Get it to that point where you know, okay, this is flushing. This is very weak. Then wait for that little sympathy bounce, right? Get that little sympathy bounce intraday. Get that sell off that previous low. Boom, you got yourself a beautiful break and retest. You know it's weak. You know this is just a sympathy bounce, right? At this point, you know it's weak. That bounce, you don't buy calls on that bounce. You look for where that rejection comes in, right? And then you have your confirmation. But selling it here with the potential of a demand bounce, right, is just a little bit too early, in my opinion, to have a good setup, to have good risk to reward, all right? Apple, that's what we did. We already did AMD. Cameron, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. Cameron. We already did AMD. You can go back on the stream. Amazon. So Amazon, another stock that is now sitting in this channel again. So Amazon had a big push. I guess basically a fake push, really. If we all could look back and say these were all fake pushes, obviously. So big push here into this double top. Really clean rejection on Amazon right here at 137. If this line would go on my screen, there we go. So 137 right there, boom. You guys can see that. Big drop due to CPI. And now we're in this demand zone. So doesn't this look, if you put this up here, this looks like to me, an area that could be pretty choppy and pretty annoying to trade in, right? You don't want to get stuck in something like this. So watch out for these highs here as rejection points, right? All in this 130 level. You can see we broke it. Previous rejection here. Rejections here. Rejection here. Rejection here. All these rejections here, right? If you push back into 130, maybe look for that sell, right? That little retest, right? Back into 130. Or you just look for this. Break of the key weekly lows. Retest of that. Boom. Sell it back off that retest. In between this range, how do you know what happens? All right? How do you know what happens in between this range? A lot more difficult. So be careful in there. Let's get a quick update on NASDAQ. What's it up to? Let's see. So a little bit of just a little bit of this, a little bit of that on the NASDAQ. I mean, just a whole bunch of nothing right now, guys. So we got to be careful. It's going to be a digestion. Sometimes I can't speak, man. Digestion type of day, I think, on the market to see where the next move comes in. All right, let's go over some of the stocks that you guys want to look at. Remember, if you are down there on the bottom right of your screen, if you want to gain access to the ticker form that we go over every day, that looks like this. Let me pull that up. You guys can see this is the ticker form where people can, there we go, where people can put what they want to look at, right? And if you want access to that, just go ahead and press that join button down below, and you will get access to that in the community tab on my YouTube channel. So right now, it looks like only one person wants to look at something, and that is Adobe. Let me go ahead and, there we go, clean this up. Oops. All right, Adobe. I'll take, we already looked at Twitter, PayPal, Microsoft. I'll take one more. UNH. All right, that's it. Adobe, Twitter, PayPal, Microsoft, UNH. That's what we're looking at. We already looked at the SPY and QQQ. All right, Adobe has earnings, but of course we're going to look at it again. It has earnings. It's in a channel. I have no really insight for you besides watch what it does off earnings. That's what I would look for. What does it do off earnings? I can't help on earnings, guys. I just can't do it. I don't know what's going to happen. All right, I can't predict what happens on earnings. So, Twitter, it's just a disaster of a stock. It's basically just being ran by the news articles that come out about Elon and Twitter buyout. Yesterday, it got a big push because of Twitter accepting Elon's bid. I have no idea what it does today. Twitter is a big time unknown stock. It's just a disaster. I would not trade Twitter. That's my personal opinion. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. If you come here, I would not even touch Twitter with a 10-foot pole. 4-hour chart on PayPal. PayPal didn't drop that much yesterday, huh? That's weird. I mean, it did 5%, but when you really zoom out, it's not really much there. Interesting. Yeah, I would just watch this zone on PayPal. Between this 91 and 88, you guys can see it's sort of holding there, right? Previous rejection. You see you broke up, right? Broke to the upside, and then you came back into it. You're sort of holding it. So I would watch this level on PayPal. Right around this 92.88 as a potential hold area. It doesn't look like it's got much juice to the upside. That's the thing. Like, I don't expect PayPal to actually go for it. It looks like PayPal is just going to do a whole bunch of nothing here for a long time. That's sort of what I'm feeling. But, yeah, I would just watch that potential demand below around 92. Microsoft. Yeah, big time rejection on Microsoft has been very weak, guys. I mean, look at this. Look at this over the last This is almost coming into 6 months now. Almost 6 months now, guys. Microsoft has done nothing. So that should tell you something, right? If a stock is doing nothing for 6 months, do you really want to be, getting too aggressive here? What I would look for, if anything, would be, do you hold that 245? I'll look at Google and FSLR for you guys. I saw Piff and Chef point that out. So, all right. So, 245 on Microsoft. That's the low I would watch. At this point, guys, it's going to be at the mercy of the market. I would just watch this big time demand low, right? 245. If it looks like it's going to trade back into it, I would probably expect it to trade back into it, and then you got to see what happens at this demand low. 245. UNH back at the retest level. This is going to be a big level for UNH. 515, right? Previous rejections into support, into support. What happens at 515? That's the major watch on UNH. Google. Yes, I am still holding my Nvidia calls. I scalped my way out of those, right? I talked about this in the morning. So you're right there at Google at 106. This is going to be huge, right? You're at the channel low. This could very well look like Meta, right? This could very well look like Meta here. If you do not see any type of hold on the market today, you could see the previous lows turn into a rejection here on Google. So watch out for that on Google and Meta. Last but not least, we'll look at FSLR. Solar stocks were strong yesterday. Very strong yesterday. FSLR bounced pretty strong. It looks like it's sort of consolidating here, FSLR. These solar stocks have been strong, though, right? You can look at even on Enphase. Enphase was actually really strong yesterday, held up. I think it closed green, actually. They're a little bit extended. They're starting to chop in this area. But, yeah, I would always keep at least, I would always check in on these stocks intraday because they outperformed yesterday. And that means they could definitely continue that outperformance. A little bit choppy right now. But, yeah, I would just sort of watch these as, okay, I understand that this is a strong sector, right? You want to sign up for Discord, but it's giving error. Do you want me to scream back at you? I'll scream. I don't know why. That's my answer to you. Reach out to me on email or go to my website. At the bottom of my website, if you ever need to reach out to me, guys, the bottom of my website has a direct contact link for me. It takes me some time to get back to you because there's a lot of them, but I will get back to you eventually. All right? That's all I got, guys. That's all I got. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys could press the like button before you head out, that would be great. Can we get us? Eventually, we'll get 1,000 likes on a live stream. Eventually, we'll get that. Hopefully one day. If you guys could help me do that, that would be awesome. 1,000 likes. Subscribe to the channel. Have a fantastic trading day. Be safe out there. Be careful of today's price action. Watch out for those demand zones that I pointed out today. And just, keep an eye on that. All right, guys. Have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.